Unsyndicated presents What the Puck with Sean Belegian.
Into another edition of What the Puck. This is a special edition as, of course, we're helping out our friends with the Michigan High School Hockey Coaches Association. My name is Sean Belegian, along with my pal Mike Iveso. We are kindly joined by, I think we could say, two of Marquette's finest.
Yes.
Now,
Absolutely.
if the name Doug Garrow sounds familiar, well, he's been a coach and a player. But his name also came up on this show before. I'm not sure if our other guest, Jakob Peterson, knows this. He's in the history books up at Northern Michigan for hockey. And, of course, Mark Beaufait's line mate. There was no way I was going to let that pass. But Coach Garrow kindly joining us. Doug, always a pleasure. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Thanks for having me and JP here. And it's been a good summer so far. So all's well in the UP.
And Jakob Peterson, of course, a young man who played at Marquette High School. And one of the things that we're talking about during this series is the proven path. And your path might have a straight direction, or it might have a few stops to get you to eventually where you wanted to be. And certainly Jakob Peterson has a great story to tell. Jakob, really appreciate you taking the time. How are you tonight, bud?
I'm good. How are you doing? Thanks for having
us. No, tremendous. Hey, let's start with you because, I mean, honest to goodness, Jakob, it doesn't seem like that long ago. Fans not only up in Marquette, but fans of high school hockey across the state were watching you play at Marquette. I mean, tell us about the last 4 years, man. It's got to be a whirlwind for you.
Yeah, it's been crazy. Like 3 years ago, I was playing high school hockey in Marquette, and now I get to come back and play college. But yeah, it was awesome. I got to play 2 years here at Marquette High School and enjoy those, play with my childhood friends and all that. And I was luckily able to get the chance to go play up in Alberta for a year. I knew a guy around here to help me out get up there. Obviously, it was a tough year with the COVID year and how things were with that. And didn't play a lot of games, wanted to get a better chance, get more exposure, play in the U.S. closer to a lot more schools, and got down to Texas, made the team in August and had a good start to the year. And then, I got the call from Northern. So it's kind of all gone quick, but it's been good. It's been exciting, and I'm glad I got to play where I played.
That is excellent. And sticking with you, Jakob, the thing that we always want to know is where that pathway started. So I know being up in Marquette that you'd have to leave home just to play AAA hockey in youth. Did you have those options? And then if you did, what drew you to Marquette High School and high school hockey?
As a young kid, Marquette Junior Hockey always had pretty good AA programs. We never had AAA up here. Obviously, I was too young to play for the AAA program that was here, but I was lucky enough to have great junior hockey up here where I got to play there. And then high school for me, I never knew I wanted to go the route of playing college hockey, maybe playing junior hockey. I didn't know a lot about it until I got into high school. So for me, playing high school was just kind of the next step of my road. But, I'm fortunate I got to play here. I think high school hockey is another one of those paths that you're seeing every year, kids are moving on to the next level. So it's been good. And I think for me, just not knowing I wanted to play hockey is why I played. But, high school is a great route for everyone that wants it.
Coach Garrow, of course, kindly joining us, and Jakob Peterson, a young man for the Wildcat hockey team. Coach, for people that don't know, we had some fun with it early, but you had the fortune of playing at Northern Michigan, such a fine hockey tradition. And it must be a wonderful thing to be able to stay home, to stay in your own backyard and coach the game you love so much in the spot you love so much.
Yeah, no, for me, it's been, I've been involved in coaching since I left Northern. My last year was 1990, graduated there. And then I was fortunate enough to be able to be the volunteer assistant on the 91 championship team. Northern won the national championship that year. And I was like a student assistant, kind of was in charge of all the video back then. We had the VHS tapes. We had to put one in and I had to make copies and send them to the next team, So I got to see how coaching started. Coaching went from really the infancy of it here at Northern with Coach Comley, and then our assistants were Walt Kyle and Maury Garrett. And I learned just a ton from those three, and I realized at that point that I wanted to, give back to the youth and continue my coaching path. And I did coach at Northern for a couple of years when I had one child, and then my wife and I started having more children, and it just wasn't the path for me to keep going the college route. So then I coached my kids. My daughter I coached for a long time, and I coached my son for a long time, and now they're all off. And I love coaching high school. I think high school hockey is one of the greatest areas to coach, because you can really help nurture kids, and you shape them for getting them out, going out into the real world after they leave high school. But it's a high level of hockey, so you can really get involved in the nuts and bolts of what it takes to be successful and show kids, what they need to do to get to the next level.
Excellent, Coach. Sticking with the high school hockey and Marquette up there, Michigan high school hockey seems to be moving in the right direction with Team Michigan, with the summer programs, the preseason programs, how we're faring when we go over there to Minnesota. In your eyes, what more can we do? Is there something else we can do to get these kids the exposure that they're getting right now?
Well, I can tell you, I'm on the state coaching committee. I'm the rep for the UP. I just sent an email to everybody today. I think one thing that we need to look at, when I first started coaching here 11 years ago, we had 180 programs in Michigan, and now we only have about 130. And that's because of a lot of teams are going to the co-op route. And I think what we need to do as a state, and seriously take a look at going to 2 divisions like Minnesota does. And if you win your region, you go down to the state tournament, and then you bring the top 8 teams from the 2 classifications down there. And you have your quarterfinal games down there. You have your consolation semis, your regular semis. So basically the top 16 teams in the state are going to be there, and a minimum 4 teams will play 2 games, 12 teams will play 3 games. And you're going to get a lot more eyes in terms of college scouts and recruiters who want to come down and see some of the top 16 programs in the state and some of the best players. And I think if we can do something like that, I think we'll take the next step with high school hockey. And, we're just going to follow Minnesota. I mean, you look at Minnesota, they got it figured out, and they put more kids in the college hockey in the NHL than I would say any other state. So, the old saying from Field of Dreams, build it and they will come. So we need to build it like that. And hopefully we can just draw kids instead of trying to, compete with the AAA and get in arguments about them. What's good, what's bad. There's certain things good for everybody in that area. And there's certain things in the high school hockey I think are good for, I would say, the majority of players. So if we can improve our game in that regard, I think it would really help.
Coach Garrow, kindly joining us, the head coach up at Marquette, and one of his former players, and currently with the Northern Michigan Wildcat, Jakob Peterson. Jacob, talk to us about your perspective as a player, because there are so many options for guys to go play, and you have this guy chirping in your ear, that guy chirping in your ear. What was your impetus behind saying, nah, you know what? I want to play with Coach Garrow. I want to play for my high school team.
Yeah. Sorry. I think a big thing with high school hockey too, when you're young freshman, maybe 15 years old, you get the chance to play against guys who are 17, 18, bigger, older than you. And that's just like every other league that you're going to play in. Juniors, college, juniors, you're playing against guys, you might be 17 to 21. College is more 20 to 25. And I think that's a big thing when you're young. You learn how to play smart. You learn how to play against different guys who plays different games, because when you're playing U14, U16, U18, everybody tends to be the same age. And then it's just a competition of who's better when they're younger and all that kind of thing. So I think playing against the older guys is one of like the biggest things that helped me get to where I'm at now.
Yeah, let me mention something about JP too. He took a year off of hockey.
Oh,
He didn't play hockey for a year. After he played Bantam, he quit hockey because he's a hell of a baseball player. So he wanted to focus on baseball because he thought he was going to go play college ball. And then after he took a year off, his sophomore year in high school, I believe it was, he came back and played his junior and senior year. And sometimes taking a year off is not, I think we put a lot of pressure on kids, and sometimes they get burned out.
Right.
So JP took a year off and he grew. I mean, if you would have saw him when he was a bantam, he was a small kid. He was probably 5'7" to 5'8", maybe. He took that year off. He hit a growth spurt. Now he's 6'2", 6'3". So, there's many paths to get to where you're going to go, and not playing 70 games a year is not going to hurt you.
Right.
We all know as coaches and everybody that you get better in practice, not necessarily in games all the time. So I think if you could get to a spot where you're going to practice, 3 or 4 times as many as you play games, I think that's going to help your development much more than playing 80 games and practicing 50 times.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, we're happy he made that decision to come back, and it's all better for high school hockey. Jacob, I just got back from a weekend up in Lindsay, Ontario, watching rookie camp. I don't know if it was rookie camp or a main camp that was your first exposure to stepping on the ice with junior hockey players, but coming off of almost a point a game as a high school player, what was the biggest difference and adjustment that you had to make in playing with these junior players?
I think it's kind of the same thing I talked about with high school hockey. And, you go into juniors, you're 18, you're young, you're going up against guys when you step on the ice there who are maybe 20 years old. They've got 3 years of junior experience. They've got 150 games, and they're big, they're strong, they'll beat you in the corner. And I think when you're young, you learn different ways to play against that. And then when you're 20 and older, you get to be bigger and you teach those kids how to play. So I think that physically, the size and strength was probably the biggest obstacle to overcome in juniors.
Doug Garrow, of course, the head coach at Marquette, and Jakob Peterson, former Marquette player, now with the Northern Michigan Wildcats, kindly joining us as we're talking all things high school hockey, thanks to our friends with the Michigan High School Hockey Coaches Association. Coach Garrow, we talk so much, and I think guys our age have a tendency to talk about things in terms of comparison to 25, 30 years ago. I want to stick in the recent past. I think there's a massive difference at this level, the high school level, just in the last 10 years. Forget about 25, 30 years ago. The jump that this game has made and the amount of guys on a year-by-year basis, it just seems like the numbers keep going up of young men that continue their playing career as soon as they leave high school hockey. What is your feeling on that jump that this game has seemingly taken in the last decade?
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to a lot of guys now have skill coaches. My assistant coach, Barrett Kaib, he works with our guys in the summer and just doing skills. A lot of times guys want to go out and scrimmage, but we're doing skill work, puck touches. They have the puck on their stick all the time. They're doing power skating. They're doing off ice. I mean, that's where I think you see in the last 10 years where it's changing is it's a 12-month-year sport for these kids, but they're getting just high level coaching at not only AAA level, but really at the high school level now too, they're getting it. And I've been fortunate enough here at Marquette to have really good coaches. When I first started, I had Dusty Collins, who played for the national program. And then I had Bobby Selden, who played for the national program. They both played for Northern. And then when Bobby left, Barrett Kaib came on. He played for the national program. He played for Providence and he played for Northern. So I've, and it's just like everywhere around the state, there's a lot of good quality assistant coaches that are really the nuts and bolts of a high school program. Because as head coaches, we are just kind of there to supervise and oversee a lot of stuff, but we have a lot of balls in the air too, with hotels and meals and transportation and jerseys and socks and, all this stuff that we do. So we really rely on our assistants to really guide our programs and mentor these kids, because they're really the backbone of the programs. I think are the assistant coaches around the state.
Doug, when I asked my first question, you answered it by talking about restructuring the state tournament. If you remember, we sat down and we watched almost an entire state tournament, and that environment, how great that environment is there, the 4,500 fans that'll come in there. How important is it for all programs to get eyes, the future players' eyes in that arena so they can see that environment and they can sell it? The second part of my question is, from the UP, how do you get your future players' eyes on that to sell that environment?
Yeah, that's a good question. From the UP, it's a little harder, but from downstate, I tell you, that's the first time I've been there for the whole weekend. I've come down as a coach, and unfortunately, we've lost the first game all the time. So we are a one and done. That's why I think if we go to that different format, then you're guaranteed at least 2 games. So you're going to be able to go down there and have your team experience the state tournament. Because before, when we've come down there, we've never really experienced going to it and seeing the Brighton and Catholic Central like it was on Saturday night. I think if you can get guys into that format and into just that atmosphere, I mean, you're going to love to play in that atmosphere. And that doesn't happen every night, but I can tell you when we played Houghton up here, our last regular season game in Marquette, we tied them 1-1. And I think we had between 12 and 1,500 people at our game. And you don't get that at AAA. You get mom and dads. You might get a few scouts in the stands, but you don't get to play in front of the student body, all your friends, all your peers. You don't have these rivalries that we do up here and like you guys do downstate. Brighton, Heartland, and Catholic Central, and whoever they're, Brother Rice, and all those rivalries that get the student body in there. We open up every year at Brother Rice. Those fans are crazy, and they're not very nice for considering being a Catholic school. But my parent group goes crazy, and they're like, "Can you imagine these kids? They come from a Catholic school, a private school." I'm like, I love it. Like, it's a great atmosphere for our kids, the first time who are experiencing high school hockey, to play in front of this rowdy crew, because that's what you want to play. I want to play in an ice rink, and I want my guys to play in an ice rink that is just excitement, because it makes the atmosphere for the game. We can go play in an empty arena,
I was going to say, let's head out to Oak Park that night. Where 100%. Now we know what we're doing that night, Doug. Mike and I are going to be there. There's no doubt about that. Coach, I want to stay right there, because I think that's one benefit that we need to talk up more. I make the joke all the time. I wish I could clone myself and go to this game and that game. I wish I could go up to Hancock or Marquette. Obviously, it's not possible. But the way that we're filling these barns and the way this is being covered now, I can't tell you how many times we've reached out to media entities in Marquette and said, yeah, what do you need? We've got some camera footage for you, whatever the case may be. The way that this is being covered now, and from really every corner of the state, that's just not something you're going to find in the AAA entity.
No, I mean, you don't have anybody covering that. I mean, you might at a showcase, but when Honey Baked, I mean, I don't want to bash them, but when Honey Baked plays Victory Honda, nobody's going to go there on Sunday morning or, a Saturday, 4:00 game. But when you got Hancock and Houghton playing up there, when you got Marquette going to Calumet, or Marquette going to Houghton, or Marquette going to Escanaba, or, those are all rivalry games for us, and teams get up. I mean, I tell our guys all the time, when you have success, you're going to get individual success with team success. But on the other side of the coin, everybody's going to want to beat you. It's like Heartland and Catholic Central and Brighton. I mean, I schedule those teams because I want to play the best, and I want to beat them. It's like Escanaba wanting to play Marquette. They want to beat the big brother. I mean, that's why you play the good competition, because you want to show your kids that, you want to play the best. So at the end of the year, when you're playing in the state tournament, you've already played some of those teams, and you know what it's like. I mean, that one year, that was the COVID year when we only played 15 games and we came down and played in the semifinals. I forget who we got beat by. I think it was Heartland that year we got beat in the semifinals. But whatever. I think what hurt us that year was we never came down state before that. So the speed of the game down there was a little different than what we were used to up here. We might have been used to a little more physical hockey up here in the UP. But I think the speed of the game down there, sometimes we weren't used to that. And I think that hurt us. That's why, like Micah and Houghton, I mean, those guys, we've talked about it. I've talked to Micah about it. So I'm not saying anything here that he doesn't know. They even know that they have to get downstate more to experience being on the road, what it's like to get in, a hotel room and then get up and play a game the next day. It's an experience that the kids enjoy too, because they're with their friends, they're on a bus. That's what they remember. I can tell you, whenever we have senior night every year, and I ask the question, your biggest memory, It's never, I scored, this goal against Escanaba to beat them in the quarterfinals or Houghton. It's the trips on the bus. Well, it's the memories they make with their friends outside of the game that I think high school hockey means a lot, because in 20 years, when these kids come back for a class reunion, all the kids who go away to play AAA hockey, they come back for a class reunion. What do they talk about? I remember my senior year, we beat CompuWare, we beat Honeybake. Well, nobody cares because they didn't experience it with you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
totally.
when they come back and they're seniors and they have their senior group and they remember what they did their senior year, especially if you win a state tournament, champions walk together forever. You will never forget those guys, no matter what. You will never forget that experience, right, wrong, good or bad. You will not forget it. So I think high school hockey, not only you can get to the next level, you can play juniors, you can get to college, you can get to the NHL. I mean, it happens, but more than anything, all that fades in about 5 to 10 years after high school. But the memories that last till you no longer on this earth, those are a lifetime. You cannot get those back. So that's what I think high school hockey provides.
He just sold me. I'm playing for Marquette next year.
Here, let's go.
We're getting on the bus.
You got any eligibility? How about your son? How about your son?
Let's go.
No, unfortunately not. But sticking in the similar realm of things, that me and Sean had a conversation before we came on, and we know we're coming up to Marquette, I believe, right?
Yes.
We're going to be doing some games.
Well, John Kidd's on there. Let's add John Kidd's like the boss. So, John, we're going up to Marquette, right? So
we'll wait for that answer.
Okay, good.
But there's always, like, me and Sean are always at the rink. We're always watching. We're going to watch you play Brother Rice. We're always going to games. But there's always that game, be it in the UP or out west, especially during the playoffs, that we can't make. Is there any discussions or anything out there between the coaches and the state of Michigan about trying to help teams stream the games and get past the live barn stuff so that we can get these games out there and online?
Yeah, I don't know that. I mean, that's something that I could bring up to Ryan. We just had our coaches meeting last week, and that wasn't on the agenda. We were talking about some other issues, just trying to promote the game and keep doing that. So I think I'll bring that up to Ryan, and I'm sure you guys talked to Ryan too, Ossenmacher, who's the president of the Coaches Association. And, that's something that maybe we put on the agenda and start talking about. So that's good. I mean, that needs to happen, because that's the way you're going to get the program and get, build the interest level in high school hockey, is by getting it out there and letting people watch it.
A couple of Wildcats joining us, of course, Marquette as well, but Doug Garrow, of course, and Jakob Peterson. Jacob, I want to ask you, every year, I kid you not, and Mike has been privy to this, somewhere, some rink, a parent or oftentimes a young man will come up to me and say, you know what? I got to tell you, this was the best decision I ever made. Yep. I played here my first couple of years. I played here until my junior year, but I decided to come play high school hockey and experience that my senior year. And my only regret is I didn't do it my freshman year. If there's a young man watching right now playing hockey and maybe having that debate, what would you say to them? A guy that played in the high school ranks, who had a blast at Marquette, who, got to a prestigious place and still playing in your career right now at Northern Michigan. What would you say to that young player right now about playing at this level?
Yeah, I'd probably tell them all paths are different, and no matter what, there's always a way to get there. And like Doug talked about, it's some of my best memories come back to high school hockey. Every time I get together with some of my buddies that we hang out with around town, we talk about that year that we were down in Plymouth. It was, about to play for that Final Four against Brother Rice. That never got to happen. And we talk about the year before where we got to play in the Final Four. And I think that was one of the things that swayed me towards, wanting to play high school that other year. There was a AAA program wanted me to go over there my senior year, but I was talking to my parents and I just couldn't leave it because, like Doug said, again, all your buddies come to your game and your peers are there, and it's Tuesday night and you're playing in Calumet and you've got friends driving from Marquette to Calumet to watch you. And you win a big game and you talk about it at school, and like you don't get to do that stuff playing AAA. So it was 2 of the best years I ever had playing hockey, and I would do it all over again if I could.
Big man on campus.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
You get that winning goal. I remember I was an assistant coach in '95 when Michael Hillier was coaching, and we won the state title. And there was a guy on our team who scored the game winner. We won 2-0 against Trenton that year. And the guy who got the first goal was his only goal of the year. And we told him we're a big man on campus. Stewie, you get the pick of the litter, my friend. You're BMO.
That is awesome. That is great. That is all great to hear, Jacob. Now, that was for the kids coming in. We wanted to ask for some advice. Now, for those seniors that are leaving this year, and they're dropping like flies right now, Sean. These guys are signing all over the place. What is your advice to a high school hockey senior going on to junior camp coming up here in August?
I think it's just stick with it and be ready. A lot of things aren't going to go your way. A lot of times guys leaving for juniors don't always get first pair defensemen when they go to juniors like they were in high school. And like I said, good players will get it, and things take time. Like, you might struggle right away in juniors and it's hard, but it's what you can get through to keep going, to get to the next level and keep playing. So I think sticking with it. And for me too, like junior year, I didn't make Team Michigan. And, that's one thing that could really bring someone down and, take them away from loving the game because, they didn't make Team Michigan. These guys did. So I think just staying with it. And if you get cut, keep working. The next day you're back in the rink, stuff like that. Just, that's what it takes to get to the next level.
Yeah. Let me add to that a little bit. I think it's really as resiliency is what I'd want to say. Is that's a word that a lot of people have to be able to live, resiliency. Because I remember my son Jacob, when he was a first year Bantam, he didn't make the Bantam team. And let me just tell you, the guys who got cut on that Bantam team is their first year. We had a good 04 group in Marquette. Jake didn't make it. Liam Bierman didn't make it. Braden Grange didn't make it. Anna Bizik didn't make it. And those 4, like Liam, had a heck of a year in the Null last year. He's got drafted by the Dubuque Fighting Saints in the USHL. Braden Grange was dream team his senior year in Michigan. Anna Bizik was that girl goalie I had played for me a few years ago. She's playing hockey at University of Minnesota Duluth. She's a Bulldog. And my son Jake, he's going to go to a couple Null main camps and he's going to continue to play. But I would argue, just because you don't make it at a certain time, don't give up on your dream. Just be realistic, but continue to be resilient and continue to work hard. And if you really want something bad enough, it will happen. It just sometimes everybody's path is different. Some guys develop when they're 10, 11, 12, and some guys develop when they're 16, 17, 18. I think it's different for everybody. That's why I think high school hockey is important, because I think the guys who maybe aren't fully developed can really get a lot of puck touches, a lot of practice time. They can really improve their skills by, like my group, my Marquette, we have about 90 hours of practice for 25 games. So we're almost at a 4-to-1 ratio for hours of practice compared to games. And if you can get that much ice time and you really put in the effort on the ice when you're out there, you're going to improve your game. And if you want to go on past high school, there's the path out there. You just have to be resilient and continue to work for it and continue to fight for, your dream.
Well said. Jacob, I got to ask you, Mike and I have said this for years. I think Marquette under Coach Garrow plays a certain style. Doug, I know I've told you many times I appreciate it. There's no doubt about that. But let's ask Jake. Jake, what was it like playing for Coach Garrow, and how would you describe that Marquette style?
I think a lot of the UP teams, but Marquette specifically, it's a hard style of hockey. Like, you don't have anything. You don't try to beat your one guy on the blue line. You put it in, you go to work, and that's where you get rewarded. And I think that's why every year you see a lot of different guys having a lot of points, is because everybody goes to work, everybody does their job, and everybody has a part of the moving machine. So I think that's big. And, making the right play and making the next right play is what we're big on. You make a mistake, you get right back and you go to work again. And I think that's where a lot of the success comes from, because, the best teams I've played on in my life, in juniors and college, they were the hardest working teams, and they were the teams that were willing to do whatever it took. And I think, Doug and, Barrett and the assistant coaches do a great job of instilling that from day one.
All right, Jacob, I'm going to take this a little bit off the beaten path, and it's kind of what I do here, but you're a college kid, so I'm going to imagine you love to eat. So when me and Sean come up there to Marquette this year, what are the spots? Where do we have to eat?
Ooh. Me personally, I'm a big Stucco's fan.
Okay.
Stucco's a good one. You got to get to Vango's. That's another local one that's really good. And if I had to say one more, I'd probably go with the Delft. It's a nice place, good food, right downtown, good spot.
I'm taking you guys to Elizabeth's.
Okay.
We're going to a steakhouse. We're going to go to
all right. Because I know the third base bar doesn't have food, so we're going to have to eat somewhere before we go visit.
That's the before and the after. The middle is the steak. You got to have a good base that'll suck up all that alcohol.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, it's been a blast watching Jacob and watching Marquette continue to grow. As I mentioned, Coach Garrow, all the respect in the world for you and the job you're doing. But I would be remiss. Jacob, did you know your coach is in the Northern Michigan record book? I'm going to let him tell you about it. We had my buddy Mark Beaufet on talking about that. But Doug, talk about that magic night your line had.
Yeah, well, it was me, Mark Beaufet, and Dan Rojo. And Dan Rojo actually helps run some of the Madison Capital programs, I think, down there. He's involved in that somehow. But our line scored 3 goals in 32 seconds, and each one of us had a goal and 2 assists. We each had a separate goal. We each had, and then I think Coach, we were the 4th line. So I think Coach Conley thought we, probably were done for the night for our points. So we didn't see a whole lot of ice after that.
Oh, that is excellent.
Well, Jacob, I have a bunch of Northern Michigan gear still from all those years ago, watching Coach Garrow play and watching Mark Beaufet play. Continued success to you. We'll root for you wherever you go. And we really appreciate you taking the time and joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
And Doug, as always, if you ever need anything, just give us a holler. Thank you as well, Coach.
No problem. Thank you guys for all you do for high school hockey. Appreciate it.
Our pleasure. And we'll see you in Oak Park as well. Doug Garrow, Jakob Peterson kindly joining us here. Isn't that great?
That was awesome. That is
so
awesome.
Cool. Such a great, I love, I've said this to you 1,000 times. Well, you know this as well. I'd move to the UP.
Oh,
I would,
and
you would move with me. The problem is we wouldn't have a family anymore. I'm not sure the rest of our family would go, but such a great community up there. It really is. I mean, that whole stretch from Marquette up into, the Copper Country and everything, just awesome up there. Great people and a heck of a lot of great hockey players as well.
Yeah, you can't stress enough how great the people are. That's a trip that I made every year for whatever it was, the 8 years I was at Grosse Pointe North. And it was again, like Coach said, it was team bonding. It was the bus ride. It was that. But when we were there, the people just treat you great. They give you the tour of the stadium and all that stuff. So great people. I can't wait to get up there. We have a good time up there in UP, and we'll scout out some places to put that smokehouse.
Yeah. That's it. We mentioned Mark Beaufet before. We've been joking about this for years. So we're gonna move up there and we're gonna open up our own smokehouse. And all we're gonna do is watch hockey. That's life. That's it. I'm done. I'm done. That's absolutely perfect, right?
Absolutely. But they've got to get on that streaming so we can stream the games up there. So we can watch those games and not miss them.
Absolutely. No, always love going up there. Such a great area. And yes, indeed, for those of you that aren't familiar, yes, we're planning to go up there with state champs. We do a bunch of broadcasts. And so I think not official yet, but I think we're going to have 3 broadcasts in 2 days.
I believe so. So I think we're going to Houghton.
Yeah, I think we're going to Houghton.
And then we come back.
And we go to Marquette. And I think we're doing 2 at Marquette.
I believe so.
I can't wait. Just
great.
A great trip right before Christmas. And certainly Coach Garrow and his staff doing a fantastic job. Just great people up there in Marquette. And love seeing guys like Jacob. It doesn't happen right away. It doesn't, I think a lot of times maybe for a young person, it's okay, well, I'm going to finish high school and then I'm going to get there. Sometimes you take one move, sometimes you take two moves, but when you eventually get to where you want to be, to have that opportunity to play college hockey in his own backyard in those beautiful northern uniforms is fantastic. And now I'm going to make you blush because your son, Sebastiano Ivasil, is going to be one of those kids after an illustrious career at Catholic Central that saw him win not one, not two, but 3 state championships. He is ready to pursue a career beyond high school.
Absolutely. You heard me mention it to Jacob that we were just up. He was in rookie camp with the Lindsay Muskies in a great little town about an hour east of Toronto, northeast of Toronto, Lindsay, Ontario. And we got that phone call today, Sean, and they're offering him a spot, and the papers are coming in, and they're gonna be signing, and it's just unbelievable.
Go Muskies!
Yes, go Muskies. We ordered our gear. It's a great opportunity for him, but again, to get right back into the show that it's that pathway.
Yep.
And it's not always that top scorer, that player of the year. There's a pathway there for everybody. I mean, you're talking about a third line kid, some PK time and stuff like that, but it's happening and it's awesome. And again, like I said, the kids are dropping all over the place, man. These kids are signing, but we can't wait. I'm going to be driving 5 hours, a whole lot.
Road trip.
The hotel, great, right there, walking distance to it. Some good gluten-free food out there, and we can't wait. He's ecstatic.
I'm going too. Uncle Sean's going. I hope he knows that. He's heading out there too. So that'll be a great time. But no, and I love what Coach Garrow said, because I don't want to demean. I love the game of hockey. Period. End of story. And I don't want to demean any other brand of hockey, but I was telling a coach who shall not be mentioned in the past couple days, all we're doing with a show like this is spitting facts and telling the story of guys like Jakob Peterson, and telling the story of Sebastiano Ivasil, and telling the story, I think next week, hopefully we have a chance to talk to Joey Larson, who plays at Michigan State. And that's, to me, that's all we're doing. It doesn't demean this. It doesn't demean that. Even though there's a lot of that going on, I don't understand it. As you heard Jacob say, and you heard Coach Garrow say, no two paths are the same. And I'm a firm believer. I say this each and every week. What Mike Vellucci said, my boss with the Whalers, who later went on to be the assistant GM in Carolina and is working in Pittsburgh now on the bench. If you can play, we'll find you. And high school hockey has proven to be a very good path to keep your hockey career going.
Absolutely. And it gets into coaches like Coach Garrow and what he's talking about, the assistant coaches and the way they are getting these kids better. And then as the kids get better, the program gets better, it gets the exposure, you're pulling more kids. And the next thing you know, there's a ton of kids moving on. And it's great to see. I hope that this high school game continues to get better and we continue to get more and more exposure for these kids. And we see more Jacobs, more Joey Larsons and such like that we can then have them back and be talking to all these kids that are class of 2024 and talking about their NCAA trips.
And more Sebastiano Ivasils.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Lindsay Muskies. How cool is that? Unbelievable. Now, I need to do some stuff or else Blake will kill me. So, Blake, I'm even going to include some stuff you didn't say. Join Blake and I tomorrow morning. Blake and I have a lot to talk about tomorrow morning. This, of course, this show is exclusively brought to you by our friends with the MHSAA and the Michigan High School Coaches Association. We'll be doing this until, the new season starts, and you and I are sitting in Oak Park watching Marquette and Brother Rice. But Blake and I are at 11 o'clock tomorrow. Then we've got Bad Yardage Thursday night. Friday, I may have a little surprise for you. I'm not entirely sure yet. Saturday, we're going to be here with, what did we decide, an hour? Do you want to do an hour pregame show?
So 7 to 8?
Yeah, you want to do 7 to 8? Let's meet halfway in the middle. 7:15 to 8 o'clock pregame
7:15
show.
to 8 o'clock. Okay. Yep, that gives me time to clear it.
Yeah, because
Yep.
I know you have a lot of
Yep.
like graduation parties and stuff like that.
Tis the
Seriously, join Coach Hunter, Mike, who knows who else will be here. We're going to talk about what we've seen so far in the Stanley Cup playoff and what we might see in the final as well. And Blake, oh, by the way, YouTube. Make sure you go to the YouTube page and subscribe. Don't just like it. We've already assumed subscribe, right? Blake, you can come on right now because I need a grade. And every time we bring Blake on, I do have to say, courtesy of WJR Mitch Album Show and of course Sports Rap. Hubie can't be there on Saturday, but Blake, you can come on right now. Did I hit everything and then some? If you were to assign a letter grade, what grade would you give me?
Do you see the smile on my face?
Can you believe?
I'm so proud of you.
Little Sean is
We
growing
did
up.
good. Yep, we
I'm
did
so
good.
proud of you. I'm very proud. You did a
Well,
great job.
We'll talk tomorrow. I have a feeling you and I have some college football things to talk. Okay.
Yeah, there's a few things to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. But in the meantime, hey, thanks again to Coach Garrow and to Jakob Peterson. Both Northern Michigan guys and both Marquette High guys as well. Thanks to both of them for joining us. Really appreciate the Michigan High School Hockey Coaches Association for making this possible. We're going to do this all the way up until the new season starts. Always a pleasure. I want to shake your hand and tell you congratulations as well.
Just awesome.
His boy heading to go play for the Lindsay Muskies. How stinking cool is that? For Todd and Blake, I thank you as always. For my buddy Mike Iveso, thank you most importantly for joining us. Make sure you go to the YouTube page and subscribe, please. Thanks. Until next time, I'm Sean. See you.
What the Puck, featuring Sean Belegian. Produced by Todd Losey and Blake Matrazek. Executive produced by Sean Belegian and Todd Losey. Theme song and incidental music by Elliot Middleton. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe to What the Puck on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Got something to say to Sean? Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.